Sat Sri Akal everyone, and welcome to our 10th and hopefully the final episode serial. This might be, I may be able to conclude today, I hope so anyway. So in the flow of things, what I have been trying to establish is that the Sikh, the definition and term of Sikh has become totally confused over the last 50, 70 years. It has become totally confused. It is no longer what it used to be. And because of that, three-quarter of the Panth today is left stranded. Three-quarter of the Panth today is left stranded because in today's terms, if you don't have Kesh, you are not a Sikh. If you do not have Panchakakar and you haven't taken Amrit from the Panch Pyare, you are not a Sikh, you are a Patat. And then, as we mentioned before, they have all these fancy names created for you, Saj Tari and this and that, whatever else, which were never even thought of by our gurus. Forget about used by our gurus. Our gurus had no such description of any human being as Saj Tari and Amrit Tari and Keshta Tari and this Tari and that Tari. Muslims were sitting in the Sangat of our gurus. Hindus were sitting in our Sangat. And of course, Sikhs were sitting, everyone was a disciple. Sikh means disciple, shishya, not learner, not learner. Please correct our vocabulary. Sikh does not mean learner as is written in so many books about Sikh faith. There is nothing to learn in Sikhi. You become a disciple, you follow your guru. कहानी खत्म. कुछ पढ़न छड़न वाली कोई गल नहीं है. Follow the guru's teaching. That's what Bhai Lena did. There was nothing to study. He didn't bring out manuals and volumes and scriptures and granths and study translations and this and that to become a Sikh. He just followed Guru Nanak, and Guru Nanak took him and put him on the throne. That is Sikhi. Same thing done by Guru Amar Das ji. 12 साल सेवा की थी, discipleship. So coming back to the point, today I'm going to introduce you to the book that I've been talking about and to Reverend Laughlin, who wrote this book, The Sikhs and Their Scriptures. Okay, The Sikhs and Their Scriptures. Now this is a Christian missionary who happened to be in Punjab at that time in the early part of the last century, 20th century. Okay, and now this book, before we go any further, I want to establish what it is. It is actually Professor Ganda Singh, Dr. Ganda Singh, Professor Pritam Singh from Professor of Punjabi, Mahindra College, Patiala, all this, Dr. Ganda Singh and all that, I think you all know. They are very among the most highly regarded scholars of the Sikh Panth, and they are the people who have endorsed this book written by this Christian priest. One of the most fascinating and beautiful books that have been written. You know, the Western mind, the Gora mind, it takes a Gora mind to understand Sikhi. You know, it requires intelligence to understand Sikhi. Sometimes I tell people who are close to me, Sikhi is not for the ordinary person. It's just too high an ideal. It's too high a thought. It's too high a concept for mere mortals. And this book, but we are not here to talk about the book. We are here to talk about this particular. Let me show you the chapter that I want to bring your attention to is here. Okay, Sikhs and Singhs. Okay, Sikhs and Singh. Now I'm going to replace the word Singh here with Khalsa. Okay, Sikh and Khalsa. All right, I'm going to read the first line, chapter 3 here. The term Sikh is used in a general way to designate all the followers of the 10 gurus. Please look at the words carefully. I put it there. You can pause your screen to read it. Okay, all of the followers. It does not at any point anywhere say, and this will be corroborated by many other books written during that era. Before fundamentalism and extremism came into Sikh Panth, before the 70s, the liberal views, the openness that we had, the inclusiveness that we had all disappeared. I was going to say something, but I better not say it. It may be politically incorrect to say it. The term Sikh is used in a general way to designate all the followers. All the followers. Please remember that word, because I'll be coming to that later, of the 10 Gurus. Then he goes on to qualify something, yes. But strictly speaking, there is a difference between a Sikh and a Khalsa. There is a difference between a Sikh and a Khalsa, which is something that is missing here. Here, anybody who hasn't taken Amrit from Panj Pyare is left out, stranded. Negura, no Guru. Until you take Amrit Chako, Sikh bano, they will tell you. Amrit Chako, Singh Sajo. These are the slogans that you will hear, the cliches that you will hear. Amrit Chako, meaning Panjab Pyare, then you become a Sikh or then you become a Khalsa. This is not what is stated here. Here it says a Sikh is a Sikh, anyone, okay? Designate all the followers of the 10 Gurus. Whatever may be your previous orientation, if you have accepted the 10 Gurus, one Akal Purkh and Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji as your reference and your guide in life, you are a Sikh. The rest is up to you. How high you wish to raise yourself, how much a Sikh you want to become, that is up to you. The difference between all the people who are following Guru Nanak and one became the next Guru. So here you are, I've already shown you what it says here, okay? I'm going to put this aside. Now I'm going to come to something very interesting. I want to show you that, as I mentioned to you, before the 1970s, before the 1960s, this idea of a Sikh existed, the one that I just mentioned to you. It was the idea of Sikhi. It wasn't only certain people who followed this idea. No. As long as you were a follower of the 10 Gurus, you were a Sikh, and this is the proof. I'm going to show you the proof right now. This is the proof. This is a picture of Dr. Harbans Lal. This is a picture of him here today. He is 87 years old. This is him in 1954. You will notice when he was elected the president of the All India Sikh Student Federation. I have to pause there. I have to pause there to bring your attention to this person. Look at Dr. Harbans Lal here. Does he have a beard? Does he have kesh? Is he a Panjakakari? No. But this gentleman, because of the openness and the understanding of who is a Sikh, this man was a disciple of the Gurus. When he was a student in his younger years, he was elected the president. It says here, Dr. Harbans Lal, the only Sahaj Tari Sikh, because after that the fundamentalism started to creep in. But up to this point, even a person who did not have Keshas, Panjakakar, he became the president of the All India Sikh Student Federation. And you know, with students are one of the most extreme and fundamentalist, the most vocal groups in the world. Our Sikhs were so liberal in their thinking and so broad-minded in their thinking. Someone like Dr. Harbans Lal, and Dr. Harbans Lal, his entire life has insisted on maintaining this Sarup. He has insisted, I've read an article where he has insisted on maintaining this Sarup, because he says, I want to be at least the proof and the evidence that every Sikhi jari Sikh bhul gaye. Casting out all of these people. So I have provided, please go to Google, please go and look for Dr. Harbans Lal, go and read his amazing history from a Hindu family. Couldn't conceive, parents couldn't conceive. The mother went to the local Istri Satsang, local Gurdwara, and spoke to the lady who was a Granthi. Lady who was a Granthi there, This is in Haripur in northwest frontier in Pakistan in those days, and the lady told him, "तुसी पंजा साहब जाके ते अरदास करो, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੋਵੇਗਾ." And that's how he was born. His parents went to Shri Panja Sahib, ਉੱਥੇ ਅਰਦਾਸਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਅੱਗੇ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੇ ਇਹ Dr. Harbans Lal has become one of the most established, renowned, highly regarded Sikhs until today. And he lives in the United States today. He is one of the greatest ambassadors for Sikhi. He does seminars, he does lectures, he does everything on Guru Nanak. He has continued, devoted his entire life to Sikhi. ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਐਂਬੈਸਡਰ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦਾ। Dr. Harbans Lal, wherever you are, my highest regard from the Sangat of Malaysia to you. And may God give you all the longest life possible. And may you continue good health and continue doing your parchar until today, 87 years. Please go to internet and see what he is still doing, what he is still busy with. So anyway, I already showed you this document. This document is it's a very uncomfortable document for me. It has caused a lot of problems for the Panth, this document. Okay, but to provide you the proof of what I am saying, I am going to refer to the Sikh Review. Okay, and it is from May 1995. Okay, somebody gave me this photostat copy, which was given to me also around 1990s. I have been keeping it since then. Now I want to show you some portions written here by the editorial, okay, by the editor. Okay, now just to establish the things that I am saying, I am just not talking, just my opinions. Okay, this is in the Sikh Review, probably the most highly regarded Sikh publication, okay, in the Sikh diaspora, in the Sikh world. This was the Sikh Review. Today is probably not available in print media, but I do not know, doesn't matter. Let me start from here. Maryada, okay, first line. Maryada means the practice of faith. The definition of Sikh is quite loose. The definition is quite loose. You can see it there. Okay, that was the beauty of Sikhi. The definition was loose. Anybody could feel that they were a Sikh, believe that they were a Sikh. Okay, before we started shutting the gates and putting up the walls to exclude people. Okay, so now here we are. He goes on to explain okay, a Sikh is any person who believes in Ek Akal Purkh God, Akal Purkh, believes in the 10 Gurus, okay, and then believes in the Shri Guru Granth Sahib, which we already mentioned. And the fourth one is interesting. Believes in the Khalsa initiation ceremony, believes in doesn't say that you have to take the Amrit. Nowhere it is stated. That, as a matter of fact, is even here. That part I have to credit. That part I have to credit the Sikh Maryada. Even Sikh Maryada also says, believe in the Khalsa. What it means, I do not know. What it means, believe. What do you mean, believe? Do you have to take the Amrit from the Panji Pyare to be a Sikh? Or do you not have to? To me, my interpretation is, as long as I regard the Khalsa initiation ceremony as part of my faith, I am a Sikh. I don't have to actually take the Amrit and become the Khalsa. I don't have to take that Amrit and become the Khalsa. I can remain a Sikh. I can remain a Sikh. So here, now that is the definition given here already. Okay, the ambiguity already created in point number 4. Anyone is a Sikh who believes in the Amrit initiation ceremony, the Panj Pyara initiation ceremony of the Khalsa. To me, as I said, it means you don't have to take it. The other point I've highlighted here, although the Sikh Rahat Maryada may have some unanswered questions, questionable document, Sikh Review is saying it, not that I am saying it. Okay. Although the Sikh Rahat Maryada may leave some unanswered questions, which is what I've been saying for 20 over years. But never mind, we won't be going into all that. The Sikh Rahat Maryada, although leaves unanswered question, it commands the utmost respect from Sikhs today. It commands the utmost respect. I'm not sure why it should command utmost respect. I'm not sure, because of certain other things also coming soon. Okay, when you have a document that is adhura, that is incomplete, a document that has unanswered questions and confusion, how can that command respect? It's a document. It should be a work in progress. It should be a work in progress. It should have been a work in progress. This document has been abandoned since the day it was put together in 1946. We are still carrying a dinosaur around with all the inaccuracies inside here, with things that should have been removed decades ago. Decades ago, if anybody had been looking, reading, watching, understanding the changes in the world, those changes should have been done decades ago. But we are still carrying a document from 1946, which was initially initiated in 1925 when the work was started. It was around 1925 with the Singh Sabha movement. Okay, 1925 ਦਾ ਇਹ ਕਾਗਜ਼ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਇਸ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੇ it is still this thing should be withdrawn from circulation. Really, the Shromani Committee should declare this null and void and come up with a proper new document for the 21st and 22nd centuries. This is obsolete and it is creating a lot of difficulties in the Panth. I read some more for you. Okay, then next point. With even a basic knowledge of the history of Rahat, no matter how conflicting, you see further words here to say that this is this got conflicts in conflicting documents. One side says this, one side says one side this, one side this. Okay. With even a basic knowledge of the history of Rahat, no matter how conflicting, it is clear that some evolution of the Rahat did take place after the death of Guru Gobind Singh. Some evolution of Rahat did take place after the death of Guru Gobind Singh, which means this was supposed to be a dynamic document, a living document, which means it can continue to evolve, it can continue to change. But we forgot that. Everyone's so afraid to make any changes. ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਬਣਾ ਲਿਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਭੁੱਲ ਗਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਤੇ ਆ ਲਾਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ. This became our Guru. Guru Granth Sahib is under the Ramalas and forgotten. Day and night Sikhs are conflicting and clashing over this. ਉਹਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ. Okay, so by this person, this is 1995. These things have been around for that long, and people like me around the world have been trying to raise these issues, but without the WhatsApp, without internet, we have always been squashed. We've been squashed because, as I mentioned earlier, 95% of the 595 rule. 95% of the people, when they are ignorant, you 5% trying to open your mouth, you'll be slapped, you'll be smashed. You'll be smashed. But now we have this. We can bring everything in front of the world, and the world has to listen. The world has to listen. You can't. You cannot continue to ignore. So it says that, okay, evolution did take place. It's nothing new. Evolution and change in the Rahat Maryada is accepted depending on the situation and scenarios around you. Next one. This one, another suspicious statement. Although having a list of 10 commandments would surely end the debate on Sikh Rahat, what the author of this editorial is referring to is saying, if we had the 10 commandments like the Christian, it will solve all the problems. Everything will fall into place and become clear. Okay? Although having a list of 10 commandments would surely end the debate on Sikh Rahat and would offer Sikhs more clarity, its inflexibility to the times. Its inflexibility to the times. Please note those words. Inflexibility to the times would surely turn off many Sikhs, would surely turn off many Sikhs, and this is exactly what has happened. Inflexibility to the times has turned off the entire Panth. Nobody is interested in becoming, in growing in Sikhi. We just go through the rituals of going to Gurdwaras because of the confusion that has been created. So here, you can see it here. But I have to disagree with the earlier point. I will disagree with that. The person has said that creating the 10 commandments would surely end the debate. That means having a Rehat Maryada will end once and for all the debate. But this Rehat Maryada is the problem. Sare Pwadeta Ethopaye. All the fighting in the Sikh Panth started after this was created. There was no fighting in Sikh Gurdwaras before this document was created. Fighting only started in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and now it has become so bad. The only news that comes out of Canada and United States and probably some places in UK is when it's about the fighting that goes on in Gurdwaras. Sikhs chasing each other with kirpans, tearing each other's clothes, punching and kicking, and police dogs in the Darbar Sahib. All of that only started after the 70s. Before this document, there was no such thing. If Dr. Harbans Lal can become the president of the All India Sikh Student Federation, why would there be disputes? Why would there have been? Never, unheard of. All this fighting only came in the last 20, 30, 40 years. As the fundamentalism crept in and people want to sanitize and further sanitize and exclude more and more people from the Panth and tell everybody that they are wrong. Tu kursi te baith ke langar chakda hai, tu galat hai, tu दाढ़ी कुतरदा है, तू चौर नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि तू दाढ़ी कुतर देगा. All this has led to the fighting and committees trying to take out each other, all of that. Before the 70s, before the 80s, we never heard of such things in our childhood. Never heard of these things. So, maybe there's one last point. The last point goes on to demonstrate the confusion, Sikh and Khalsa. This point, I'll bring this in. The true Guru, okay, So it is, I refer to the previous point, and would offer if you have something like Rehat Maryada, it will offer Sikhs more clarity. Its inflexibility to the times would surely turn off many Sikhs. Inflexibility. If you have a document that is not flexible and dynamic, finished. 20 years later, you cannot use that document anymore. The world has moved on already. Things have changed. So it's inflexibility to time. And he goes on to give an example. Most of Gurdwaras ignore this document. There are things happening in every Gurdwara practically in the world that are not compliant with this Rehat Maryada, which are not compliant with this right. One of the perfect typical examples is, I don't want to go into examples because then examples become another controversy. So, okay. And the last one I want to put here is the true Guru. He says here, the true Guru will aid all those who take inspiration from the Shabad Bani of the Gurus and follow the Rehat of the Khalsa. Same problem again. First, the person, we already decided from here that Sikh also belongs to same Guru, Khalsa also belongs to the same Guru. Only thing is the Sikh is not ready to become a warrior. The Sikh is not ready to, I will be showing you that line also from another book. Okay, I'll be showing you from this book. A Sikh is simply a person who is a Khalsa in every aspect, only thing doesn't wear the 5 kakars because he is not the kind of it is not the mental makeup to be a warrior. So that will be coming there. So now here it says, the true Guru will aid all those who will take inspiration from the Shabad Bani of the Gurus and follow the wrath of the Khalsa. Are you trying to tell me that if you didn't take Amrit from the Panj Pyare, the Guru not going to listen to your prayers? Is that what you are saying? That's what this line means. You see, this is where we create confusion, because we have misunderstood Sikh and Khalsa. Sometimes Sikh and Khalsa are lumped together. Sometimes, well, I put it this way, most of the times Sikh and Khalsa have been lumped together, although they are different. So this person is now saying, if you haven't taken Amrit from the Guru, Guru not going to listen to your prayers. How can that be correct? Okay, now let's come to the Rahat Maryada as written here. Okay, to demonstrate that this document is totally inadequate. Okay, even if it's only, there are so many things inside here which I will not go into, because I do not want to put them on the screen. They are not nice to talk about. They are very inconvenient for our people, for our Panth, if this thing goes public. There are discriminations inside here. There is discrimination inside here, because this, although it says Sikh Rahat Maryada, this Sikh Rahat Maryada does not recognize a Sikh. It only recognizes the Khalsa. If you are not a Panjakakari person who has taken Amrit from the Panj Pyare, this book discriminates against you. So let me start by saying that this is a book which is the Khichdi that I have been referring to. The title is Sikh Rahat Maryada, but actually what is inside here is actually 3 different books. The first book should have been Sikh Ceremonies. Sikh Rahat Maryada should have been the first section inside this book. Sikh here referring to anybody in this world who believes in Eka Kalpurkh, believes in the 10 Gurus, believes in Sri Guru Granth Sahib. That is a Sikh. So this book should have been Sikh Rahat, should have been the first part. The second part should have been Sikh Ceremonies. Ceremonies that apply to the Sikh, not to the Khalsa. That means birth ceremony, death ceremony, any Akhand part, Sahaj part, some general guidelines, how we do and perform and carry out all these things, so that we are anywhere in the world are on the same page. All Sikhs are on the same page, and we have general guidelines. So that should have been section 2. First section should have been Sikh Rahat Maryada, or rather just Sikh Rahat. I would use the word Sikh tradition. First section should have been Sikh tradition, because it should be a document that applies to the whole world. That section should be written in such a way as though it is addressing members of the entire human race. That is the way it should be written, not targeting only the Punjabi. This book is targeting only the Punjabi. That is the first reason that this makes these books irrelevant in the modern world. It assumes that the only Sikh in this world are living in Punjab. First point of failure already. The vocabulary inside is all about Indian Punjab and the Punjab the scenarios. There's nothing in this book that is about the global, the human race. Unlike the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. The Sri Guru Granth Sahib is about the entire human race. You can take the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, translate it into any language in the world, it will be relevant. At any time, 2000 years from now, Sri Guru Granth Sahib will still be relevant. 50,000 years from now, it will still be relevant. It's a timeless document. This is already, should be extinct already. So here we are. Now, as I was explaining, this basically, the title is wrong. Some of the images are also wrong, because here in another copy of the same document but has a color cover on it, here it says Sikh Raat Maryada, but here they show you Khanda Bata, which is a Panjam Pyaryan da Amrit. So I do not know. This is very confusing for me. The thing that I found most alarming was that this Sikh Raat Maryada does not have a birth ceremony for Sikh. There is no Janam Sanskar in our religious community. I cannot believe that so many people came together to prepare a document which they wrongly labeled as Sikh Raat Maryada, and they did not include a birth ceremony for Sikh babies. It is beyond my understanding. I can only imagine why they did that is because their belief was that when you are 15 or 20 years old or whatever, you reach maturity, then you must take the Panjam Pyaryan da Amrit and then you become a Sikh, which is actually you should be becoming a Khalsa. So they have no ceremony before that. Therefore, if you haven't taken the Panjam Pyaryan da Amrit, you are a person who has not been initiated. According to this book, there is no birth ceremony for the Sikh, only naming ceremony. Only naming ceremony. Okay, let me pull it out for you. Oh, sorry, I should have gone through this book and sorry, I missed it. They only have a naming ceremony. Now, how can a religion exist without a birth ceremony? That's half our problem. So I won't go into any further examples. I'll stop here as to the inadequacies of this book and the discriminations that exist in this book. I'm going to put it aside. Now I'm going to introduce you to this as the final part of our discussion. Now, what is this book? This book was released in 1936, finalized with feedback in 1946. By 1956, they had to produce this book. This book is written by Sardar, or rather initiated by Sardar Khan Singh Nabha, one of the most highly regarded scholars of the Sikh Dharma. Most highly regarded, because he is the person who created the Sikh encyclopedia, the Sikh encyclopedia. Khan Singh Nabha is a star among our stars. He is the one who, he could not complete the book. He passed away before he could finish, and he handed the job over to Sir Joginder Singh. Sir Joginder Singh is a man who was the Raja of Mandi, highly educated in the English education system, married to a Welsh lady. I mustn't deviate. A man of such, for Khan Singh Nabha to entrust this responsibility to this Raja, you must imagine how educated and established a Sikh this man must have been. So he had to come up with this to cater for some of the inadequacies of this. This came out 10 years after this. Okay, so why did they have to come out with this? I have put 3 markers. Okay, now let me go to the first one. Child naming, okay, and initiation ceremony. I already mentioned to you, this Raat Maryada does not have a Janam Sanskar for our babies. It does not have a birth ceremony. What we are doing in Malaysia is actually following this. Because here, let me read for you. No taboos of any kind are observed when a child is born. Okay. In due time, at the discretion of the parents, the child is presented before the Guru Granth Sahib. The Granthi prepares the Amrit by mixing sugar with water and reading Panj Paudiyaan. Then the general prayer is made, Ardas is, and then after reciting the prayers, Amrit is dropped into the child's mouth. Okay, dropped into the child's lips. The mother is given to drink the remainder. The name is given by opening the Shri Guru Granth Sahib Hukamnama and so on. So this is a ceremony where you take a bata, you put water, patache, you kirpan ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਪੰਜ ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ. That does not exist in Sikh Riyat Maryada, which is the reason why the Sikh Riyat Maryada was first initiated in 1925. That was actually one of the reasons, because the Sikh women who were taking their newborns to the Pandit ji and to the Brahmin who were doing mundan, they were shaving the child's head, because we didn't have our own ceremony. And you know, in India, the mentality of the people is such that to feel safe and secure, they had to take a child to be blessed somewhere. So because Sikhs didn't have a ceremony, we only had the Panjam Pyariyan, the Amrita. So the mothers were taking their newborns to the Pandit or to the Brahmin and asking them to initiate the child. And that person was shaving the child's head. And that was one of the reasons why our Sikhs then got together to put together a Riyat Maryada to come up with a code of conduct. But again, they forgot the most important thing. We are a religion that does not have a birthright. How can we exist? Thank God in Malaysia and Singapore, the people our ancestors who came here, thank God they followed what Khan Singh Nabha had prepared. He had to come up with his own. He had to create his own. And you know, interestingly, he is also one of the people whose names are inside here. The 50, 70 people who got together to come up with document. Obviously, he was so disappointed or whatever it was, he had to come up with his own. So thank God we are still following, and this is followed in Nabha and Patiala and a few areas, and I think those of us our ancestors came from that part and migrated into these parts of this world. So we luckily have a ceremony. In the rest of India and probably the Sikh communities that live in America, Canada and all that, who I do not believe that they have any such ceremony. They just have a naming ceremony. You go to the Gurdwara, the Granthi will take a Hukamnama and give you the alphabet, and with the alphabet you take a name, and that's it. So I've read something there for you. Now, important, huh? It says here, okay, it continues. Then the holy food is distributed, prasad and all that. The child's education begins with the name of God and the teachings of Guru in the presence of Guru Granth Sahib with the recital of the Mool Mantra, the general prayer. You see, this ceremony is catering for a child. From an infant to a child. If the child is old enough, the Granthi will teach the child the Mool Mantra. The child recites in the presence of Guru Granth Sahib. Child's education begins with the name of God and the teaching of Guru, recital of the general prayer. The child is instructed to recite the first hymn of Japji, which is Mool Mantra. Now, coming to a very, very important section of this chapter. The Sahaj Tari, okay, or the civilian Sikhs are baptized in the same way. The Sikh who doesn't wear a turban and the Sikh who doesn't wear the Panjakakar is also baptized. He cannot be deprived of an Amrit ceremony. Who are we to deprive anyone of the Amrit ceremony? That person, the Sahajtari, the person who is not a Panchakakari, he is not a Khalsa, not ready to take that leap to become a Khalsa. He is just entering or he is just comfortable being a disciple. That person is also entitled. Kansing Nabha, 6 ceremonies is clearly stated here. The Sahajtari are baptized in the same way with future instructions to believe, in Guru Granth Sahib, to act as an integral part of the community, to perform all ceremonies in accordance with Sikh customs, and to believe in no other gods or goddesses. The same procedure for a person of any age from any part of the world. If you want to become a Sikh, not a Khalsa, just a Sikh, you just go through this Janam Sanskar ceremony. Bata, jal pa ke, panj paudiyaan pad ke, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਛਕਾ ਦੋ, ਉਹ Sikh ਬਣ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹ Sikh ਬਣ ਗਿਆ। ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ Sikh ਬਣਾਈਏ। Don't sit and wait for people to become Khalse. No one is ready from, the guys can't even, he has hardly learned how to crawl. You are expecting the child to jump? People coming into the faith straight away become Khalsa. Panchakakar pehn ke panch baniyan paath karan lagega. Are you dreaming or what? Are we dreaming or what? The only religion that does not have the, what did I used to have a word for it. You know, the entry level Sikhi. How can you have a faith without entry level Sikhi? Straight away become Khalsa? It's such a ridiculous idea. Even the children of our Granthis are not Khalsa. And we expect that the newcomer into the faith to become a Khalsa straight away. This Kansing Nabha figured out that there is an error, there is something wrong in this. It has to be corrected. Entry level Sikhi has to be created, and he created it. The Sahajtari is baptized in the same way as the child, as the Janam Sanskar. So this is something which is very, very important, and the Sikhs must recognize and go back to this. We need to implement this worldwide, not just in Malaysia and Singapore. As a matter of fact, here there's one person I know at least who is trying to take everybody back to this. There should be no Janam Sanskar. This is Manmat. That person was saying, this is Manmat. What do you mean Manmat? Just because it's not stated here? This is in error, not the Sangat is in error. The Sangat is doing what is right. They have found a solution. Now let's go to next page, okay, for the final part. This was the part that we did just now, the child naming and initiation. Next page. The Amrit ceremony or Sikh baptism. Now you see again, confusion again. Or Sikh baptism. No, this one refers to Khalsa baptism. The Sikh baptism was earlier. You see, because of this confusion between Sikh and Khalsa, that's why I keep saying Khichdi. You know, we ourselves are unclear what is what. So we already said Sikh earlier, now here we are again, Amrit ceremony or Sikh baptism. No, it should be Amrit ceremony for Khalsa baptism. Here is where the Panch Pyare come in. Here is when you have to be old enough to be able to make that choice, to make that leap, to accept the 10 commandments as mentioned earlier. Here is where the commandments are given to you. Panchakakar, Panjabaniya, all you have to comply and conform. That is your discipline. Because now you are a uniformed unit, you are part of a warrior unit, you are part of a seva group, you are a full-time sevadar now, your full-time commitment you have undertaken with the Guru. So that is the Khalsa. That is the elevated status of the Khalsa. He is one step above. But he lives one step below. He is one step above, but he lives one step below and he serves the Sikh. He doesn't go out and behave as though he is above the Sikh. he remains below. That is called Garibi in Nimrata. So now, coming to this, the general body of the Sikh community is divided into two classes. Division aa gaya na? See the dangers? The general body of Sikh community is divided into two classes. It shouldn't be. The Sajtari or the civilian Sikh and the Keshadhari, who is the warrior Sikh. Is there such a thing? I thought it's just Sikh and Khalsa. Sikh is a Sikh, a Khalsa is a Khalsa. Khalsa is the warrior, the Sikh is the disciple. Why do we have to give labels like this? Keshtari, Sajtari, Amrittari. We create classes, I mentioned earlier. Then with classes comes discrimination. Okay? The Sajtaris form a body of true believers. Now this is what I like. This is what I like. I'm proud of Sir Joginder Singh and Khan Singh Nabha when he comes and says things like that. The Sajtaris form a body of true believers. If they are true believers, तुझे फिर discriminate क्यों करते हो उन्होंने? Okay, body of true believers who have entered the path of discipleship and are not prepared to serve as soldiers. Not prepared to serve as soldiers. Because Khalsa originated from being a warrior, being a fighting man. Today we have to modify it into a serving man. That time survival ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੀਗੀ, ਲੜਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਹਥਿਆਰ ਚੁੱਕਣੇ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਸਨ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਵਾਰੀਅਰ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਰੰਗ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਯੁੱਧ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੜ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਗਰੀਬੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੜ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਫਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਪਾਵਰਟੀ, ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਫਾਈਟਿੰਗ illiteracy, what you call house, providing services and help and support, and that's different. The nature has become different, although the philosophy remains the same. So here it says, the Sajtaris form a body of true believers who have entered the path of discipleship and are not prepared to serve as soldiers. The Keshdhari Sikhs accept the baptism of the dagger, sanctified by the dagger, and are ready for national service. Yeah, how beautifully he has put these words. But because there's still a little bit of confusion, this Sikh and Khalsa words still getting intermingled here and there. Yes, I'm talking, now it's easy to talk. This was written 1950, 56, 50s ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਰੱਖੀ ਸੀਗੀ. In hindsight, now we can talk a lot. But I admire the brilliance of these people. They were already starting to think that this is an inadequate document. They had to come out with something of their own. I bought from Singh Brothers. I didn't print this in my house and making up all these stories. It's bought from Amritsar. These books are for sale. There. Okay. Then the civilian Sikh. Very important point. Please. The civilian Sikh is required to wear no outward symbol of his faith. That's what a Sajtari is. He is not required to wear any outward symbol of his faith. The Keshtari Sikhs are enjoined to keep the Panchakakar. So now you are clearly starting to hear for the first time in print, besides my words, in print you are starting to see that Sikh is different from Singh. Sikh is different from Khalsa. First Reverend Laughlin, and now here. So these are written documents. I'm not plucking stuff out of thin air. This should. Now I'm going to continue to read somewhere here. In the case of the Keshtari Sikhs, as soon as a boy or girl grows up and is able to read the writings of gurus, understand teachings, comprehend the articles or the Panchakakars, they can understand that, then they are given the baptism, the Panjam Pyaryan da Amrit. Jidon Sut Buddha Sambhal Lai. The baptism is administered in an open congregation called Diwan in presence of Guru Granth Sahib. So, and then it goes on and on. I think I have made my point clear. My point is that we have strayed, we have clearly strayed from our Guru's original understanding of what is Sikhi, our Guru's original purpose of introducing Sikhi to the world, our Guru's original intention, where it should go, how far and wide it should go. We have encapsulated it into the Ramalas in the Gurdwara and kept it buried somewhere in Punjab. All our documents, our books and everything, the vocabulary that is used, the way it is delivered and written is written for Indians and Punjabis to read, and no one else can follow and read anything else. So this is the state of affairs that we are today confronted with. And once we recognize where we have stumbled, the solutions will come. We can start rebuilding ourselves into a new community, a new nation, a new consciousness, a new blessing for this earth, which is what we were supposed to be. Sikh was supposed to be a lighthouse. This is how Yogi Ji has described us. This is how Sant Baba Niranjan Singh used to describe us and say, become a lighthouse. बुझी होई जोत दूसरी जोत ਨੂੰ नहीं जगा सकती, बुझिया होया दीवा दूसरे दीवे नहीं जगा सकता, एक जागदा जीवा एक हजार दीवियां ਨੂੰ जगा सकता है. These are the words of our teachers, our Mahapurush, Sant Ranjan Singh, Yogi Harbhajan Siri Singh Sahib. We need to re-understand, we need to unlearn the Sikhi that we have been fed in our lifetimes, especially in the last 40 years. The extremism, the fundamentalism that has crept into this religion, we need to bring this into focus. We need to bring this onto the table. We need to start talking about this at Gurdwara level, at Sangat level, through little meetings, through seminars, through conferences, and we need to go back to our basics. If we can do that, then we are talking about 96 crore Khalsa. Then we are talking about 96 crore Khalsa, not the 96 crore Khalsa that we will only see in 16,000 years' time. Because as in one of my previous sessions, I divided for you 960 million, which is 96 crore, 960 million, which was the prophecy of Guru Gobind Singh that we will one day be 960 million. And I told you we are growing at the rate of 60,000 a year. 60,000 a year. You divide 60,000 by 960 million, you will get 16,000 years. It will take 16,000 years to achieve the Guru's dream if we continue at this rate. As a matter of fact, it will take billions of years, because even this 60,000 is diminishing and becoming lesser and lesser and lesser as child birth rates are dropping, as all kinds of other things are happening, all kinds of other factors take into consideration. Not in 2 billion years we will ever achieve our Guru's dreams. But if we all put our minds, unlearn our conditioning, discard and throw away all the conditioning that we have been programmed to believe, and come up with a new working model, refresh ourselves, renew ourselves, re-engineer ourselves, recreate ourselves, remarket, rebrand ourselves, then remarket ourselves, then sit and watch the miracle happening in front of your eyes. Already today, the Golden Temple is having such an amazing effect on anybody who walks into the Golden Temple complex. I will end my session today with this little story about this man who wrote a book on Sikhi and the Golden Temple, and in his introduction he writes that he first came to India. He first came to India to see the famous Taj Mahal. He came to India to see the Taj Mahal, but after visiting the Taj Mahal, we went to look at the Golden Temple, and he said the Golden Temple transformed him. The Taj Mahal is a place of the dead. It's a mausoleum. It's a graveyard. And he said, look at the Golden Temple. It's brimming with life. It brings the dead back to life. The Golden Temple. And these are the impressions that our Golden Temple is having on the people of the world, as people of the world find out about the Golden Temple, which I must also now mention to you. I know the time is going. Mention to you, it is one of the 10 to be visited places on this earth. The 10, it qualified to be among the top 10 to be visited places, must visit places on this earth. So if our Sikhi, our work of our gurus can have such an impact on anyone who comes in contact with Sikhi, then watch the miracles happen. Thank you very much. Sorry for another very long session. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.